Been doing this series for a few weeks now, and it's fun at the start. Oh, remember the 1981 Islanders? Oh, those were fun times, weren't they? The 82 Islanders, the 83 Islanders, the 84 Oilers, 85 Oilers, 86 Montreal, 87 Oilers, 88 Oilers, 89 Calgary, 90 Edmonton. Fun times. 91, 92 Pittsburgh. This should have been the happiest moment of my life. And it wasn't. And I've done videos about why and what happened. And I've got a board all done up here which shows that the Bruins' number one scorer, it was a tie between Krejci and Lucic with 62 points, and in the postseason it was Krejci with 23 in 25 games played. They had 3 7-game series. They had Montreal, Tampa, and then Vancouver. Vancouver had 1 7-game series before the final. 24. Magic number's 24. When you cheer for teams that are in opposite conferences, the magic number's 24. It's 24 wins that separate your teams from playing each other. And up until 2011, I'd always kept track. I had my 24 countdown. Sometimes I got into single digits. Usually not so much. I had my hopes up certain certain postseasons, but usually fell apart. That one had happened. So when you look at the playoffs, Vancouver slayed the Dragon in the first round by beating Chicago, which did not fully satisfy me because it should have been over in 4 and it took 7. Boston beats Montreal also in 7. And I remember I watched one team win the one night, and the next night I watched the other one win, and I'm like, this is my year. Both Boston and Vancouver win Game 7 in the first round against their arch rivals, teams that have given them nothing but headaches in the postseason. Second round, Philly goes down in 4. Boston doesn't allow another comeback. Vancouver beats Nashville in 6. And I was happy. I was like, wow, both of my teams are in the conference finals. This is kind of amazing. I thought Boston was going out in the next round to Tampa. I knew Vancouver was going to beat San Jose because it was the Sharks. And I know San Jose fans are going to leave nasty comments in the section below, but I had no doubt in my mind that year that Vancouver would beat San Jose. Tampa and Boston, I had a lot less confidence in. Going into this series, I wasn't overly confident in the way Claude Julien was coaching things. And while Tim Thomas was having a fantastic playoff, the offense of the Bruins was struggling. Their special teams weren't great. Their power play was abysmal through most of the playoffs. So I believed that Vancouver would make it. I didn't think Boston would. Marchand's a rookie. 41 points in the regular season, 19 in the postseason. 11 of those are goals. Marchand showed right away he was a big game player. That's good news, right? So why am I not wearing this jersey? Why am I not wearing this in this video? I should be all dressed up in my Boston gear the same as I've been in every other team's gear for the video. What am I wearing an athletics hat for? Today I walked around downtown Abbotsford and I got nasty remarks from Canucks fans 3 times wearing my Boston Bruins jersey. 3 times. Men and women. And that's just in a random walk around town. And I don't live in Vancouver. Boston gear is still reviled in this area. And that was 6 years ago now. Like, it's over. It's long over. And there's still a feeling that I get that I'm not allowed to cheer for both teams. The finals, let's just take a look at them, shall we? I decided the bunker was the best place to shoot this. So, Vancouver won 2 of those games by a shutout. And yet, Luongo gets crapped on a lot. They win the second game in overtime, 3-2. And Luongo takes all the blame. Why? Well, see, there was this game 3 that was 8-1. There was this game here that was 4-0. And then if you look down towards the bottom, he allowed 5 in Game 6 and he allowed 4 in Game 7. I am always baffled and bewildered when people blame Luongo for all of the team's ills when he had 2 shutouts in the final. Basically, he had to shut Boston out or they lost. And they got shut out twice themselves. They won 3 out of 4 at home. They could not win in Boston. They got beaten in Boston 17-3 in those 3 games. That's why when they were coming home for Game 7, and Canuck fans I worked with were all like, oh, we've got this. This is it. We're going to win this. And I thought they were insane. I said, no, Boston's going to come in and win this. Boston destroyed Vancouver in Boston. And all they needed was 1 win. They had all the momentum and all the confidence. The confidence is what changed things. And let's not overlook when Nathan Horton got hurt. How that changed the series. Aaron Rome, a little late. We can debate whether or not it was worthy of a suspension all we want, but it changed the whole feeling of the series. Horton's out, Scott Thornton's in. Thornton, before his first game, I remember him going by the Canucks bench and challenging everybody, and I'm going to get my fists up, and I thought, oh, come on. No, come on. So, he's out there doing his thing, and I honestly kind of was embarrassed as a Bruins fan in that moment. When I look back now, it was a smart move. He got in their heads. When the games got physical, the Canucks couldn't keep up. And coming out of this Stanley Cup, the Canucks tried to build a team that could beat the Bruins, rather than a team that could win the Stanley Cup. Boston, this was a one-off. This was not something that they were able to do again. 2013, they got to the final, and we'll get into that final in a couple of days, and they lost to the better team. I'm not going to argue that for a second. They lost to the better team. But this postseason, it wasn't about the team. It was about Tim Thomas and Roberto Luongo. And even though Luongo played very well in the victories, the fact that his save percentage in the losses was horrible. And I think of Pekka Rinne this year for Nashville. It's the same thing. Except Rinne's actually older than Luongo was when this happened. And all the whispers started coming out of that Stanley Cup final. Maybe we should go with Schneider. And it's like, he had 2 shutouts in the final. Boston simply beat the Canucks. And there are Canuck fans that still can't deal with that. Nope. Nope, that was Luongo's fault. It wasn't. It really wasn't. I mean, they don't get past Nashville without Kessler. But Luongo would have won the Conn Smythe if Vancouver had won Game 7. And there may be Canuck fans that have a problem wrapping their brain around it, but even Don Cherry said it after Game 6, where they lost 5-2. He said, as hard as it is to believe, Luongo is still their best player, and if the Canucks win this Stanley Cup, he's the Conn Smythe winner. This was one of the dirtiest, nastiest, most vicious Stanley Cups ever. That final series was brutal. And I love my Bruins, and I love the Canucks, but it was really hard to watch them play against each other that way. I had really wanted a good, skilled final like 94. 94's final between Vancouver and the Rangers was beautiful, and it was poetry on ice. And almost every game was just this fantastic exchange of chances, and there was some really great hockey being played. This series was dirty, ugly. Games were hard to watch. That 8-1 game, I didn't even watch past the first period. I was like, all right, well, the Canucks didn't show up tonight. And again, Canuck fans after that Game 3 were like, it's just one game. Who cares? Yeah, they took the night off because they know they can win Game 4. And I kept saying to people, it's the finals. You don't take a night off. You can't take a night off. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And yet, they took Game 4 off too. And again, coming out of Game 4 was, that doesn't matter as long as they don't lose at home. You guys insane? I do sometimes wonder about the fandom locally. that they might be insane. Because you look at what Vancouver's done up until then. And it's like, okay, Boston's beat the crap out of them twice, and Vancouver's eked out wins twice. Then Vancouver ekes out a win in Game 3. Or Game 5, and then everybody's like, oh, see, we're going to win. And it's like, you got to win Game 6. Game 6 is the only time I've ever sworn and turned off a game about 5 minutes in. Once that second goal went in, I turned the game off. I said, the Canucks didn't show up tonight, so why should I watch them? This was their chance to win the Stanley Cup. And the Bruins knew it was the Canucks' chance to win the Stanley Cup, and they destroyed them. And then Game 7, Boston did it again. Once that first goal went in, it was Boston's. Tim Thomas wasn't allowing anything. .940 save percentage, 1.98 goals against. As good as Tuukka Rask is, he didn't get into the game because Thomas was that much better. So, was it a proud moment for me when Boston held up the Stanley Cup? I don't know. I wasn't allowed to watch. That's right. After Game 7, my ex was like, I'm not watching that. And I'm like, can I watch the Bruins celebrate the Cup win at all? And I had to argue with her for about 10 minutes before I was allowed to turn on the celebration. And then the riots. And I knew there was going to be riots. And during the riots, I even said I hope Vancouver never gets back to a Stanley Cup final. Because I'd been through it twice now. And the thing about it is this. The riots would have happened whether the Canucks won or the Canucks lost. It doesn't matter whether they won or lost. People are going to riot regardless. That's why when teams win championships, there's riots too. People are just taking advantage of the situation and figuring they can get some free shit. And that's what happened in Vancouver. Some idiots, some drunks, some miscreants decided that they were going to start some stuff up, light some stuff on fire. And honestly, for me as a Bruins fan and a Canucks fan, it just made the whole experience miserable. So we're here. We're at 2011. We're at the championship won by one of my favorite teams. The people ask, how can you cheer for them and the Canucks? Because I cheered for them both since the 80s. I had no idea what would happen when they met in the final. I had no idea that they would meet in the final. And that when this was the emblem of a Stanley Cup champion, I wouldn't be allowed to celebrate it. I could not wear this jersey locally for the first year after they won. Couldn't do it. From the amount of comments, stuff getting thrown out of vehicles, it wasn't worth it to wear it publicly. And yet when you wear Canuck stuff publicly, people usually yell out, they suck. So, okay. That's the logic of the West Coast. I guess that's why it's Nashville country. Alright, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, especially if you're a Boston fan that lives in BC. There's got to be, I know there's more than just me, because I knew at least 2 people that I worked with that were closet Bruins fans. They would message me and say, I'm a Bruins fan too, don't tell anybody. Literally, that's what I was being told by people. It's ridiculous. Let me know why that's ridiculous in the comment section below as well. And thank you for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.